Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And plenty to do here on this Wednesday. JD Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports, with us in 15 minutes. It's a What If Wednesday. We'll do that at the bottom of hour number 1. Matthew Bruni, his normal spot, talking LSU hoops. They're in the middle of finals week right now, but a big one on the horizon against SMU. Talk to Bruni about that coming up in the second hour. Saints are welcoming Jayden Daniels to town. We need to discuss that. Bill Belichick is the new head coach at North Carolina. That may come up as well. But we start the same way that we start each and every day, and that's with the Genesis Opening Drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Earlier this morning, Brian Kelly met with media via teleconference, Zoom, as it were, for the Texas Bowl. I think the Texas Bowl is actually who put this on. He kind of gave his opening statement about the Texas Bowl, and we hit a number of topics with Brian Kelly. One of them was the transfer portal, and he said that yesterday he ate at 3 different restaurants in Baton Rouge. Said he hit Gino's, Ruth's Chris, and Jubin's for dinner on Tuesday evening.
Sounds like a good night.
That's going to be a lot of calories.
Food.
That's a lot of food.
Sounds good to me.
A lot of rich food, a lot of delicious food that would be taken down there. But we've heard Ed Ogeron tell the stories that he ate like 4 gumbos in one night one time. It just is what it is. You got to make things happen, and that's part of the time that LSU is in right now. They're trying to put together next year's team. They're trying to figure out who's on this year's team for the bowl game. And then they're also trying to get ready to start practicing for a bowl game tomorrow. And so I thought probably the most noteworthy soundbite, even though you'll find out there's not a lot in it, was Brian Kelly's asked, hey, have you had any discussions with Garrett Nussmeier? Like, what's that sound like at this point?
I think that we're going to have some, announcements on that here very shortly, where I think everybody's going to clearly know, where we are moving forward. We won't have a walk-on at quarterback. I can guarantee you that. I think all those decisions are coming up here. We have our first practice tomorrow, and I think we get a chance to meet with the media here on Friday, and I think we'll have a lot more information for everybody relative to what the roster looks like.
So, nothing definitive in that statement by design from Brian Kelly. So I'm going to take this point to give you my educated guess. I'm going to list the factors that I'm considering here and give you my thought as to what we're going to learn in the next 24 hours. I think it'll be more quickly than that. As he mentioned there, LSU practices football for the bowl game tomorrow. I don't think anyone who's got a real decision to make here, whether we're talking about Garrett Nussmeier, which we certainly are, Chris Hilton has been in college long enough to test the transfer portal or go into the NFL draft. Sage Ryan could go in the NFL draft or come back. I mean, there are some guys on this team that have not made announcements that I think will really quickly here. I don't think somebody's going to go out for practice on December the 12th and then go through a week's work, and then you go, you know what? I think we're going to do the draft. It certainly could. We didn't have these discussions until January as of 4 years ago. It just doesn't feel like we're at a place where we're going to have those discussions like in January now. I think those are more December discussions. That's a guess on my part. That's just the way that it feels. And the one that obviously carries more weight than any of the other ones in this instant is Garrett Nussmeier's. Right now, LSU is in the transfer portal looking for players. And we've heard Brian Kelly speak to this implicitly. This is not a guess on my part. This is a budgeting issue for LSU in terms of who they're going after in the transfer portal and how much money they can spend on said players. And there is no bigger spot that you would need to spend money on for the future than quarterback if Garrett Nussmeier were to leave. And so I believe Brian Kelly knows what Garrett Nussmeier's doing. I believe Garrett Nussmeier knows what Garrett Nussmeier's doing. And I believe LSU football is acting accordingly. Now, Garrett Nussmeier took to Instagram about 2 hours ago. And he put up a picture in his story that Cassie's got up on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. And it shows an empty chair with a purple background in one of the video studios inside Tiger Stadium. I know exactly where that is. I walk by it every single post-game show and pregame show for the road games that we do. It's on their video floor inside the newly renovated Tiger Stadium south end zone. I know exactly where that is. And my guess, based on seeing that Instagram and viewing that chair with the background where they're presumably going to film a video, is that video is going to go very much like Livy Dunn's video from last year, very much like Haley Bryant's video from last year, and not like Will Campbell and Mason Taylor, who just put up a text graphic on Instagram and fired it away. My opinion, based on that video and what LSU's doing in the transfer portal right now, is that Garrett Nussmeier is going to sit in that chair in front of that camera, and they're going to video him saying, "I'm coming back to LSU for one more year." Now, why would they do that? Is this a look at me move by Garrett Nussmeier? Hey, look at me. I'm coming back. Everybody throw me flowers. I don't necessarily think so. I think this is an announcement to those in the transfer portal. This guy is coming back, and we're making a big deal of it. It's not one tweet. It's not one picture on Instagram. We're making a video. And this is going to go out on Garrett's handle, but it's also going to go out on LSU football's handle. And we're going to make a story out of it, and we're going to get 1 billion views on this thing, and we're going to stir up the LSU fan base. And all these players that are coming in to visit LSU or looking around seeing where they're going to consider playing in the transfer portal know that the guy that's playing quarterback for LSU next year just finished 6th in the country in passing yards, just finished in terms of touchdown passes in the country. He was 13th, and he's a fifth-year senior with first and second round NFL draft grades. That's who's playing quarterback for LSU. So, hey, wide receivers, he's playing quarterback. Hey, offensive linemen, everybody's going to be evaluating this guy's tape next year in college for the NFL draft. You're going to be on that tape if you come play with us. Hey, defensive players, LSU's going to be fine on offense. They've got a guy who piloted them to one of the better passing games in college football last year. Come play with us. We've got championship aspirations. We're not guessing what a guy might be. We're not telling you what some 5-star recruit might be. We're not telling you what some transfer from the Sun Belt might be. This is the quarterback. You listening? Like, that's what I think is coming, and it may come before I get off the air. If Garrett Nussmeier was taking a picture of that chair before he sat in it, they got to edit the video, and it'll come down the road. If this was part of the tease and this happens later today before they start practice tomorrow, okay, that makes sense as well. Once again, I'm not telling you what I know. I'm telling you that all of this makes too much sense for me to sit here and ignore it. If Garrett Nussmeier leaves LSU, this football program will be in some trouble because I don't see a quarterback on that roster right now that's ready to handle that spotlight and that schedule next year. And then you've got to jump in the portal to go get a quarterback, and you're going to have to spend a lot of money on that, and it's not going to allow you to spend as much money at wide receiver, at defensive end, at offensive line, at safety. It's a salary cap thing. There is not one, but LSU's resources are finite in this instance. So I'm certain, well, I always say that it's out of habit, and I'm trying to speak literally. I'm not certain. I'm comfortable suggesting that Garrett Nussmeier is not playing for free. But I'm comfortable saying that it'll be easier to get something done with him in-house from an NIL perspective as opposed to getting out in the open market and just getting into a bidding war. So we don't know anything. Brian Kelly was intentionally vague. But my thought, based on what I know, which is Garrett Nussmeier hasn't said anything yet. He's teasing things on social media. LSU starts practice tomorrow. Finals in this week. They're having portal visitors in all the time. And the power that is LSU's social media department and the brand that they've created suggest all of these signs are pointing towards him saying, hey, I'm coming back. Who's coming with me? Like, that's what this sounds like to me. If it goes the other way, I'll be surprised, not stunned, surprised. But I feel like I'm reading enough tea leaves competently here that Garrett Nussmeier is going to return, and that's the announcement I'm expecting when it happens based on those tea leaves, not because I've talked to Garrett Nussmeier, not because I've got inside sources in the program who have suggested that, not because I've talked to the collective, because I'm just looking at everything that you're looking at, and it makes too much sense. There will be LSU fans that will roundly celebrate Garrett Nussmeier coming back. There will be a faction of the LSU fan base that's like, this guy was not good enough. I'm going to side with the first group there. I think having a guy that put together that kind of season in his first year as a starting quarterback with room to improve but tools and production to back it up, I think LSU's in good shape with him at quarterback next year. I don't think LSU has an opportunity to go to Clemson and win in the opener with him at quarterback next year. You start telling me that you're taking one of these guys on the roster currently, or you're trying to fish in the portal for some quarterback who may or may not played a lot, I don't want to get in those waters. I'll take the bird in the hand instead of the two in the bush. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to announce he's going to come back in the next 24 hours. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. We'll certainly react to it when that time comes. That's our Genesis opening drive. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. We got plenty to do here in the first hour. It's What If Wednesday. I still got room for some what ifs on Twitter. I had a good one about Christmas shopping a little earlier. If you got baseball questions, you got basketball questions, you got football questions, recruiting questions, portal questions, Christmas shopping questions, get them to me, What If Wednesday at Hunt Palmer 88. When we come back, JD Bikel, he's the host of the Hard Count on 3. Talk college football with us each and every week. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
About half that work week in the rearview mirror. It's a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Means it's a What If Wednesday. That's coming up in 15 minutes. JD Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3. Check him out on the YouTube channel, wherever you find your podcast, talking college football. Joins us now, like he does every Wednesday. JD, how we doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing? It's kind of weird. No full slate this weekend, but Army Navy just enough to wet the whistle.
That'll be it. I'll be watching some hoops at this point in the calendar, LSU, SMU, but I might take a peek at Army Navy. We'll just have to see. Look, I want to talk about the selection committee and everything that's coming down the pike here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on the report that North Carolina is going to hire Bill Belichick as its head coach. I mean, does that stun you?
I don't know if it stuns me so much because there seems like there was some smoke around it for a while, and whether there's smoke, there's fire. But can I just say, I don't get this. I don't get the fit. I don't get why he would do it. I mean, I understand if you're North Carolina, cool, we'll add a coach with 8 Super Bowls to our staff. But we got Tom Brady, the most mentally tough competitor to potentially ever walk the face of the planet. He's like, yeah, this guy kind of sucks to play for. Honestly, it was really hard. We made it work. We bought in, but nobody had fun. If you don't have fun today in college football, you hit the transfer portal. And so if it's tough for Tom Brady, I have a hard time believing that Jimmy Four-Star, the 18-year-old who's trying to figure out life, let alone college football, is going to have a ton of capacity to deal with everything that comes with Bill Belichick. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's awesome. I hope he stays in college football for forever. But I don't get the fit, and I'd be surprised if it worked, transparently.
That's kind of the way I feel about it as well, but we'll see. I guess if you sign on to play for Bill Belichick, you kind of know what you're getting into. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there on Chapel Hill. All right, the football back over the weekend. Georgia beats Texas. Carson Beck gets hurt. What was the biggest storyline from that game? Was it Beck's injury? Was it Texas losing to Georgia twice? How'd you digest that one?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say it wasn't Beck's injury, but to me, the big surprise was not just that Texas got beat twice. I think the ripple effect there that surprises me is the fact that it happened. It looks similar ways. The fact that you had Texas just get absolutely whiffed up front with an experienced offensive line, and Georgia now has 13 sacks in 2 games against what was supposed to be one of the better offensive lines in college football. I was buying a lot of Texas stock heading into this college football playoff. I'm still, I think, holding that stock with the idea that Quinn Ewers is going to be a version of big game Quinn Ewers here going forward, you would hope, but not inspiring by any stretch of the imagination if you're a Texas fan, because it does not get easier with their side of the bracket. And, oh, by the way, you're nicer in the 5 spot, right? It sounds good. You're supposed to get a nice little 12 seed, should be a G5 rep. Nope, you got the ACC champion Clemson with Dabo bringing some juice back to the playoffs. So I'm excited to watch it, but yeah, I'm very, very confused by who Texas is right now.
Penn State couldn't get a stop. I wasn't shocked they lost the game, obviously, but I thought they'd stand up a little bit taller on defense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought there would be a little bit more of a, like you said, I think stand up tall is probably the right way to say it. I left feeling a little bit more impressed by Penn State, to be honest with you. Like we did what I would call a trust ranking of the quarterbacks in this playoff on our show yesterday. Going into the weekend, I would have had Drew Allard probably somewhere in the, 6 to maybe 5 at the highest range. I had him at 3 after that game. And it wasn't because he looked the prettiest in the box score, but he just made some plays, man, where outside of Tyler Warren, Hunt, I think you or I could go play receiver at Penn State tomorrow and be a viable option. They have nobody to catch the football for him. And so he is essentially, from what I can tell, willing a passing attack into existence for that team. And he did so at a pretty competitive level for them to score 37 points. Now, obviously it doesn't hurt whenever you run the ball for darn near 300 yards, but I've been really impressed with Drew Allard. If they can recreate that same kind of juice offensively in the playoff, they're going to have a chance. Now, the one other thing I will say, you're a little bit worried if you're a Penn State fan, hey, did we empty the clip just now? Was that as great as this is going to look offensively for us, given, the number one team in America, our best swing? I don't know. So I feel a lot of ways about Penn State, but I'm with you. You kind of thought you'd get more from the defense, but I think the offense was enough to leave you feeling encouraged.
How good's Arizona State?
Yeah, I think they're good. I think they're really good. I love Sam Levitt. I don't know if you're a Ryan Russillo guy, but he has a take out there that I actually 100% buy into. In the ESPN headshot that they use for Sam Levitt on the website, my guy's got a gold chain, and he plays like he's got a gold chain. I know Cam Scadaboo is obviously the main attraction, but what he did in that Big 12 title game against, granted, a pretty suspect Iowa State defense, I'm kind of buying the stock in Arizona State. Now, do they win a game in the college football playoff? That's a very big if, but I am very, very okay with them getting a bye in the college football playoff, and I'm less okay with Boise State, which is that's a discussion we've had before. But Arizona State's good, man. I think Kenny Dillingham deserves a lot of credit, and the ripple effect there that I'm curious about is okay, can you take a playoff appearance and parlay it into keeping some of that Arizona in-state talent home? Because if you can, there's a lot of juice there to be able to be competitive year in and year out. So I think Arizona State's very, very good to answer your question.
So there's a two-part question here that's coming. What do you think of the way the committee handle things? What do you think about the format that we have, the system that we have? It's two different things. So you kind of mentioned that you're okay with Arizona State getting a bye. You're not as much with Boise. Let's start with the actual system that we have. Do you think it needs tweaking? Are you okay with it? I mean, what's next?
Yeah, tweaking feels like not strong enough of a word. I think It needs to be probably obliterated. I would have honestly, if we're calling our shot here, I would have gone to 16 before I went to 12, which is maybe probably the genie's out of the bottle there. But I do think the formatting in itself is just very, very much so missing the mark. And I'm some part of me is a little bit glad that it's happening the way that it's happening right now, because if it had been so neat and tidy and we have, Oregon undefeated, Georgia undefeated, Arizona State with one loss, and then you have an ACC champ with, one loss, and that's kind of your top four seeds, okay, I can kind of get behind that. But the fact that we have Boise State as the 3 seed as a G5 team, the fact that Oregon as the winner of the regular season, so to speak, they're the ones who they get to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee. The whole seeding is so broken. So I guess to kind of try and answer both parts of this question, I think the seeding is the biggest issue we have with this college football playoff format. Was I being dramatic for us on radio here saying it should be obliterated? Probably a little bit, but I mean, I feel very, very strongly that the seeding is massively out of whack. Now, when it comes to the committee and their field they put together, my take there is I am okay with the 12 teams because of the fact that they stuck to their logic. Do I think South Carolina and Alabama and probably even Ole Miss, you play the game 10 times, probably roll through SMU 8 times, 9 times? Yeah, probably so. Within the logic, though, those teams have 3 losses. SMU only has 1. And not saying that losses should be the end-all, be-all, but, I'm very okay with them sticking to their guns a little bit and saying, no, you know what, SMU only lost 1 game in the regular season. They've done what we've asked them to do for the most part. They kept it close against Clemson. Like, we're putting SMU in. Sorry, don't lose to Oklahoma. Don't lose to LSU and Ole Miss. Don't lose to Kentucky. So, like, I'm okay with the prongs there with how they put the field together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the two different discussions. I think it's ridiculous to award conference champions the same reward when one conference champion has won the SEC and the other one has won the Mountain West. That those things aren't equal. They shouldn't be seen as equal. I think you got a seed of 1 through 12, but I don't know how quickly they can get to that. But it feels like if they were going to get there quickly, it would take Boise State being the 3 seed in a national tournament for everyone to look at each other and go, that's probably not the best way to go about this.
You know what? This actually is broken. And I think the thing that I want to guard against is, like, if Boise State ends up winning a few games in the playoff, there's going to be a portion of the crowd that says, well, see, they deserve that 3 seed. It's like, no, they don't deserve the 3 seed. Like, they overcame the odds. I guarantee in whatever matchup they get in that second round, they're probably going to be a underdog. It might be close to a touchdown underdog, depending on who they draw. So, like, just because, things could still work out in a way that makes the seeding look like it makes sense. Like, we all have eyes. We all watch the games that have happened this year. Like, as impressive as Boise State has been in a vacuum, and they have been impressive, just what you said, they don't deserve to be the 3rd overall seed in the college football playoff. And you got teams like Texas sitting there at 5, whose only blemish is losing to what some would say is as good a team right now in college football in Georgia 2 times.
What do you think about Georgia with no Carson Beck?
So it sounds funny to say out loud. I like the identity of Georgia more with Gunnar Stockton. Now, that's not me saying that they are better without Carson Beck. I think that's lunacy if that's the way that you feel. But my feeling on this is, like, who on the perimeter needs to see the football for Georgia to win games going forward? Like, is it Arian Smith? Like, if that's your answer, you're dying on, like, okay, I wouldn't fight you too hard. Like, Dominic Lovett, okay. Like, I'm looking at, like, the guys who need to see the football are Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, and run the darn ball. Like, that, Georgia will win because of their defense and their physicality, in my humble opinion. And it's also, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, like, if you took a snapshot of Georgia quarterback play from start to finish this year from Carson Beck, like, what grade are you giving it? Maybe like a B-, maybe like a B+, if you're feeling kind of generous. I think Gunnar Stockton can deliver at that level for you. The thing that concerns me is, do you run into a situation where, let's just say they run it all the way to the national championship game and they get down 14-0 to an Oregon? Do they have the firepower then to throw the football to be able to, climb back into that kind of spot? So I think it sounds bizarre, but I do think that this potential quarterback change, if Carson Beck can't go, kind of just doubles down on who Georgia maybe needs to be to win a national championship, or at least compete for a national championship, because it's not with the skill players, and I don't think it's with Carson Beck.
How will you remember Travis Hunter's Heisman season?
I'm glad you said it that way. Bizarre in some ways, just because of how many other teams weren't able to take the helm and be like that, like we had Oregon go wire to wire, and we're sitting here saying, like, hey, maybe Dylan Gabriel is finishing 3rd or 4th in Heisman Trophy voting. So I think, like, there's a bizarre element to just the cannibalism is too strong a word, but just the craziness of no, like, dominant team. And then I think you take a step back too and say, it's bizarre that this thing has felt wrapped up for really, what have we talked about this for, like, the last couple of weeks? Like, every single time it's like, hey, Gentry's really impressive. Travis Hunter's like minus 5,000 odds in Vegas to win the Heisman. Like, it's crazy just how definitive it has been, and I think it's 100% something that we will never see again. I think it's generational. I think it's massively impressive, and I think he 1,000,000% deserves the Heisman and everything that's coming his way here.
A rare correct use of the term generational. I hear it so often. That means, like, every 30-something years you may see something like this, and we haven't really seen it since Charles Woodson, and this is more than Charles Woodson in terms of reps. So yeah, that's right, and I think that he's a worthy winner. Last one here, JD. Appreciate your time. We're expecting in the next 24 hours a Garrett Nussmeier announcement one way or another. My guess, based on the tea leaves that I'm reading here in Baton Rouge, is that Garrett will come back, but we'll see when that announcement comes. What are your thoughts on LSU's quarterback?
I'd love that for him to come back for another year and hopefully go get some weapons via the portal. I'm not sure if this is at all correlated, but this was just my first thought. You saw the news this morning. Darian Mensah, the Tulane quarterback, one of the top guys in there, ended up committing to Duke. That to me was again, I don't know if it's connected at all. It may or may not be, but like the domino effect of, okay, kid in the state of Louisiana probably could have had options in the SEC. LSU would have made sense. He commits to Duke pretty quickly. Sounds like NIL could be involved there, but that to me was like, okay, well, then Garrett Nussmeier maybe he's coming back. That's a pretty incoherent way to piece together the thought that, like, I like Garrett Nussmeier coming back. I think that's great for LSU, obviously. I think it's great for Garrett Nussmeier and his stock. And last thought here is, like, who is QB1 definitively next year in this draft class? Like, I don't see a reason why it couldn't be Garrett Nussmeier. So I'm all for it. I think it's great for everyone involved.
We'll see. Enjoy Army-Navy. We'll start talking playoff next week. Thanks, JD.
You're the man, Hunt. Go Tigers.
JD Piquel, host of The Hard Count on 3. You can catch him on YouTube, catch him wherever you find your podcast. You can catch him here every single Wednesday talking some pigskin. We'll come back with some What If Wednesday. It's a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running the shop for 40 years. Son Justin kind of taking the reins now. Been in Napoleonville for all of that time, and they've had the same phone number. I'm going to give you that in a second. But they've also got a new Gonzales location. I'll give you that phone number as well. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that when the power goes out around you, that it's not going to affect your home. It's just such an impressive thing to be able to know that no matter if it's a hurricane coming through, one of these afternoon showers, whether it's an ice storm like we had last year, you're not going to lose power. It's a nuisance, and it can be a real hindrance if you've got young children at home or if you're trying to work at home. Not having electricity, not great. You can protect yourself from that with a home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Or the new Gonzales location, 225-300-9389. I give you the easy way every single day. It's BoudreauxElectrical.com. Every single Generac generator, 7 to 10-year warranty based on the type of generator that you purchase. It's Boudreaux's Electrical. Find them at BoudreauxElectrical.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, chugging along here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks to JD Piquel for a little bit of time talking some college football. I got a little baseball to get to in about 10 minutes. If you missed this, Stephen Milam and Ashton Larson were on yesterday on After Further View with Matt Moscona, and Stephen Milam had something to say that did not surprise me in the least, but it was a little bit of new information to some. And I'll get into a little bit of that at the end of this hour. Got Matthew Bruni in 25 minutes talking some hoops. Still got to talk about the Saints as well. So plenty to do. But for right now, let's play some What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if your kids hear about Elf on the Shelf in school and start asking you and Mrs. Palmer about it, assuming you're not already doing it?
We're not. There's no Elf on a Shelf. At my sister and brother-in-law's house, they have Louie. He's there. Louie's very busy. Louie gets into a lot of trouble. And I understand all that goes into that. So, there may come a time that an Elf on a Shelf does descend on the Palmer house. We have not gotten there. So, not going to be as much activity in the Palmer house this year, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is that well enough said?
Yeah. I'm not into the whole Elf on the Shelf thing, man. I don't know. It just seems. I don't. It's okay, I guess. But
I tried to tap dance around it. You were a little more direct there.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But yes.
All right, next one here. What if Christmas shopping for the women in our lives was easier? It always feels like a losing situation.
I mean, I will talk about this probably a lot over the next 3 weeks. In my house, there is Christmas on the 25th, pretty big day. You've got Myers' birthday on the 27th, pretty big day. You've got the wife's birthday on the 30th, pretty big day. You've got New Year's on the 1st, pretty big day. And inevitably, LSU has a football game just dropped into the middle of it on a month's notice just because we never know where they're going to play until that Sunday. So, there's a lot that goes into this season for me personally in terms of scheduling things and purchasing things. And I'm terrible at buying Christmas presents.
Me too.
Just awful.
Yep.
I feel okay about what I've got on the slate for this year, but I got the, inevitable, please do not get me anything for Christmas or my birthday. We're going to dinner. That's enough. We'll spend the money on Myers.
That's just absurd.
I'm about to leave the workforce for a couple of months with the new baby coming. We need to save the cash. She absolutely hammered me well with this because I'm not listening to any of it because I know if nothing shows up, I'll be in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I did get caught up, I guess we know now it was 3 years ago, because Myers was born on the 27th. He was a little early. And we got home on the 29th from the hospital, and her birthday was the next day. And I didn't have anything. We were at the hospital. We had a 3-day-old. She was not thrilled with that.
Yeah.
I think all that I produced for her was a donut that I went and picked up on the way to work. So we'll try to avoid that. But hopefully I don't have any kids 2 days before her birthday. I won't have any kids, but we won't have any kids 2 days before her birthday again. But I'm toast. It'll be terrible. I feel, as we sit here on the 11th, I feel okay about it. There's one thing that is yet to be shipped yet that's concerning me a little bit. I checked the tracking number 3 times a day. It's not there. There's one purchase that I think she's going to like that I haven't made yet, but I got to go do that. It's not going to work out. It just never does. I'm awful at gift giving. I think it's a character flaw. I think that means you're kind of a bad person, but I can't.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think we all have our negative qualities. I'm with you as well on the gift giving thing. I'm awful at it. I just always wait way too long to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm actually a little bit ahead of schedule this year, which is good.
Well, she always hits me with it like, why don't you just get me a massage? I'm like, look, here's the deal. We share a checking account, and we share credit cards.
Yep.
And that would be like you booking me a tea time. Like, I'm capable of doing that. I want to go play golf. I'm going to go play golf. You want to get a massage? You have my blessing to go book a massage. But, like, I don't feel like me giving you that is doing anything. When we were dating, and she lived in Metairie, and I lived in Baton Rouge, I did get her a spa day at one of the hotels in New Orleans, and it was great. But, like, that was a gift that she didn't have to pay for.
Definitely.
We're a little different spot now.
All right, next one here. What if we have an SMU versus ASU natty?
That's not going to happen.
No.
I saw the Spazzali girls trying to get me in trouble with Hester.
Oh,
They're
no.
adding him on Instagram, getting him all riled up with what I had to say yesterday.
What do you have to say for yourself, Cassie?
Okay, well, I don't have anything to say.
She's just trying to stir up the views.
I can't defend myself.
Trying to stir up the views. It's okay. But it doesn't stop the fact that I looked at Arizona State's schedule, and Hester's throwing all this ranked stuff at me, and I don't think the Arizona State's that good, and I don't think they're going to be able to beat the big boys in college football, and I don't really care to see them get a bye. But we're not going to get that game in the championship because they're all going to lose to the better teams like they generally will every single year. There are have and have-nots in football. They're a have-not. They won't make it.
All right, next one. What if you could pick one player from the portal for LSU to get?
So I wrote a piece up at LouisianaSports.net that detailed all of these guys.
Wow.
But I think at this point, I can't name every player in the portal currently, so don't hold me to this for sure. But as far as I can tell, based on the guys that are in the portal and the guys that LSU has shown some interest in, I think that Will Helt is probably my answer. He played defensive end for Purdue this past year. He's been in college for 2 years. He's 6'6", 250. In this past year, he had 5 sacks and 10 TFLs for Purdue. I feel like you put that guy with Kevin Peoples in the spring and a summer to develop. That's a guy who feels like a potential double-digit sack guy, a potential 8-9 sack guy at LSU. They need that desperately. He's got plenty of frame. He's played in the Big Ten. Like I think he's ready to play, and so that would probably be the guy I look to right now. I would not at all balk at LSU pulling in Jakeem Jackson. I think that's potentially likely at this point because he's a cornerback who signed with Corey Raymond from Florida, and I think that would be a big position of need that LSU could pick up a really talented player there. But I'll go with Will Helt for now.
All right, we got some in the chat as well. Here's one. What if Myers prefers to play sword fighting with the wrapping paper rolls than his expensive gifts?
He doesn't have any expensive gifts.
I was going to say,
so
probably not
we'll
anything crazy.
I mean, Alyssa showed me the things that we have to give our soon-to-be 3-year-old son for Christmas, and it, like, covered the closet floor. It's all, like, stickers and, like, so it doesn't cost anything. She's like, I feel like we don't have enough stuff. I'm like, he doesn't even know what Christmas is. This is going to be the greatest morning of his life. It's like, I don't understand what.
Yeah, it's like
he's not 6 where he has expectation. He has no expectation. He's going to wake up the next morning and think it's just some random day, and he's going to walk in. There's going to be stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it's like
That's
getting gifts for your dog or your cat or something. Like they I'm sure they're going to appreciate the toy you get them, but they don't know why you're giving it to them.
We used to give Teeny presents before Myers was born. That doesn't happen anymore. Poor Teeny.
Funnily enough, we do give we get something for our cat every year. And my wife put all of the gifts in the closet in her office, and she was working one day and she noticed like the cat was in the closet, like trying to rip open the gifts because it had catnip in it.
Yeah, well,
so he was on the scent.
That's your wife's fault.
Yeah. All right. Next one here. What if Hanny was in charge of the SEC football schedule?
I'd like to think Charles Handegriff, ethical and moral as he is, would cut it down the middle and make it as fair as possible. My gut tells me it may
lean a little
bit away from Tuscaloosa is where it may lean. And we may get a break too. I don't think we'll be playing Florida and Alabama and Auburn and Ole Miss and A&M and Texas and Oklahoma.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
All right, last one. What if LSU loses a 6th straight season opening game at Clemson?
I mean, we don't have to answer that what if because we've already lived it. When you lose the first game, it's a disaster. You're just in big trouble the rest of the way, and it would behoove them to schedule instead of Clemson, Furman, if you're talking about a team with a 2-syllable name from that state. But Rice, whatever. But we're not doing that. We're gonna go play Houston. We're gonna go play Clemson because we're big boys and we can go. We gotta go win the game. That's the attitude to have. That's very smart. That's excellent work. Great Great stuff. All right, that's it for What If Wednesday. We'll talk some baseball to close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. When you think Genesis of Baton Rouge, think luxury. And when you think luxury, don't think, well, I can't afford that. Go to genesisofbatonrouge.com. See for yourself. It's luxury vehicles at a reasonable price. It also comes with phenomenal perks when you're a Genesis driver. 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty. 3 years, complimentary maintenance, valet maintenance. So you're talking about getting the air filter done, oil changes taken care of, wiper fluid, all that. It's a nuisance to have to go in for service and get that taken care of. They'll do it for you. You just drive to work. They'll come get your car. They'll leave you with a Genesis so you can get around. They'll take your car, service it, bring it right on back. It's part of the experience of being a Genesis driver. They're on Airline near Pico, across from Women's Hospital, and they're online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Pretty new to the area here. If you haven't been by the dealership, highly, highly recommend you go check it out. Do it this month. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, hosted by the Goo Goo Dolls' #1 fan, Hunt Palmer.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Yesterday, Matt had Stephen Milam and Ashton Larson from LSU Baseball on After Further Review. Had a good conversation. You can go check that out on demand wherever you find your sound, of course, on YouTube as well. There's one little bite from that conversation that has made some waves, and it was Stephen Milam saying, like, I'm trying to prove I can play shortstop. Doesn't seem like I'm going to be playing second base this year. The intention is for me to play on the left side of the infield. He made multiple references to moving away from second base to the left side of the infield. And that caught a lot of people off guard because Stephen Milam came in last year and he won the second base job midseason, became one of the best players on LSU's roster down the stretch, was as clutch as anybody they had, certainly a huge walk-off home run in the SC Championship, huge walk-off home run in game one of the regional against Wofford. And he did all that while playing second base. And quite frankly, he looks like a second baseman. He's 5'7" and he's a switch hitter and he's kind of a dirt ball, and like he kind of plays the game like he's a second baseman. And it surprised people to hear, well, he's going to be moving. And I alluded to this in my fall baseball recap on LouisianaSports.net, and I talked about it a little bit here. I have heard that as they kind of shuffled the infield in the fall, that while it's not set in stone, we still have 5 weeks of practice to come in January into February, and then you've got 4-week non-conference, and then you've got conference play. Like, nothing's set in stone right now. But you can kind of sense where things are trending, and you can sense that based on what they look like in practice. You can sense that based on discussions that I've had with folks inside the program. And it feels like they're looking at Dickinson, the transfer who came in from Utah Valley, and saying that's going to be our second baseman. That's where they're comfortable with him playing. That's what it feels like. And then you got Braswell and Milam, and you're going to decide which one plays short and which one plays third. I'm not telling you Mikey Ryan can't play on this team. I'm not telling you Daniel Hogg can't play on this team. I'm not telling you that it may start one way and it can't finish another way. But it feels like right now, Dickinson at second, and then those two guys, Milam and Braswell, on the left side of the infield. And you say, well, how do you determine who's what? I mean, last year, Braswell played shortstop. He should just return at shortstop. Well, you're going to determine who you think the best shortstop is of that group. And then you'll play the other guy at third. Because shortstop is a more vital position. So that's the way that LSU is going to play this thing. They're going to play both of those guys over there at short and third, and they're going to determine who's the best, and then they'll play that guy at shortstop, and the other guy will play third. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, how do I think that's going to shake out? My gut tells me that Stephen Milam will be the shortstop on opening night, and that Braswell will play third base. That's what my gut tells me. They're going to see if Milam can do it. Keep in mind, last year when Milam got to LSU in the fall, at this point in the calendar, before they sent the players home for winter break, he had a disastrous fall. Not only was he not swinging the bat, he couldn't catch a ground ball. I probably saw Stephen Milam make 4 errors in 8 or 9 scrimmages last fall. I mean, he was lost. And you've heard Jay Johnson talk about this. He gave him some things to work on, sent him back to New Mexico for Christmas, and they came back after the first, and he was a different guy. And that sometimes happens. Mikey Matuk had the same type deal. He just only had to go to Lafayette for Christmas and then come back. But Milam played great defense, and I think they think he's probably the best defensive veteran infielder that they have. I haven't seen enough of Ryan and Hogg to make a call on that, but I think he's the best infielder that they've got. And so I think he's going to be the shortstop. I think they're going to play Braswell at third base. I think they'll be flexible with that, and you may see some guys move around a little bit, but right now, as it sits here in the middle of December, my gut tells me on opening night, Dickinson at second, Milam at short, Braswell at third. It could move around. Would I like to have a little more power at third base than Braswell? Yeah. Do I think that Milam's going to hit for more power this coming year than he did this past year? Yeah. Do I think Dickinson has the opportunity to hit for more power at second base than most? Yes. Now, that's far from a sure thing because moving from Utah Valley to the SEC is an adjustment. But he's got some tools. So if I don't have, I'm not talking about Tommy White power at third base, but most SEC teams at third base are going to have 10 to 14, 15, 17 home runs. Most. And I don't know that Braswell's going to hit that. He could. He hit for some power late in the season. He hit a big home run in the SC tournament, hit a big home run in the regional. He could. But I think he's probably a 6-7 home run guy. So you're missing 7 or 8 home runs there based on average of what you would like to see in the SEC. I think Milam and Dickinson can potentially make up for that. And then you've got a lot at first base in Bear Jones, obviously. So interesting comment from Stephen Milam yesterday. It didn't surprise me. That's kind of what I had heard as well. And I think that's the way that they are planning to start things in the middle of February. But again, 6 weeks after we hit the new year is a long time for things to change. We'll see if, in fact, they do over there at Alec Box Stadium. I'm fired up to start talking a little bit of baseball, but we got a little time before we do that. We had a lot to talk about here in the first hour. Open the show. I gave you my thoughts on Garrett Nussmeier's impending decision. I think it's going to happen very quickly. Would not surprise me at all if it was today. Would not surprise me at all if it was tomorrow. Would surprise me if it was in the middle of next week. I think it's coming soon. I gave you my thoughts on that at the top of the hour. You can find those on YouTube at Hunt on LSU, potentially, unless he spoils it with an announcement here in the next hour. J.D. McHale hosted the Hard Count on 3 Sports. Was with us talking college football at 1:15. It was What If Wednesday as well. If you missed any of that, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find that sound. You can find us, just search Hunt Palmer Show. Always find our full shows on YouTube as well. Second hour, we're loaded. Matthew Bruni just texted me. He's ready to talk some hoops. We'll do that coming up in 6 minutes. Got to talk Saints and Jayden Daniels and some more thoughts on college quarterbacks. You're listening to a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic to work with on the insurance front. If you're a business owner, and I use terms like employment practice liability insurance, cyber insurance, D&O, umbrella limits, if I start talking about some of those things that I lived for 7 years and you don't have a great grasp on what those are, it's probably a good idea that you do. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to your insurance broker about that because you just picked that broker because that was the best price, I would suggest potentially contacting the Highland Insurance Group and maybe handling things a little bit more differently. Because going for the cheapest premium is great until you realize that you don't have the proper coverages. They will help you work through all of that at the Highland Insurance Group. You got to give them a call. They're right here in Baton Rouge, and you can always check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them at HighlandIG.com.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. ESPN's Pete Thamel and Chris Lowe reporting North Carolina and former Patriots coach Bill Belichick remain in talks about his potential hiring as the school's football coach, but there are still issues to work through. The ball, though, in Belichick's court, and UNC officials are on board with him as potential coach of the Tar Heels. ESPN NFL insider Field Yates.
I would have expected Bill to exhaust every NFL avenue before he turned. It's not like this is Ohio State or a premium job that is open. This is North Carolina, a team that's been in the middle of the ACC for much of the past couple of decades, right? They had a little bit of a rise with Mac Brown early in his return, and then here we are again. There's a reason why they made a change at head coach this season.
Field Yates on Carlin versus Joe. The Red Sox on the verge of landing the best starting pitcher available on the trade market. ESPN's Jeff Passan reports Boston's finalizing a deal to acquire lefty Garrett Crochet from the White Sox for multiple prospects. NCAA is discussing expanding the basketball tournaments to 72 or 76 teams in the near future. Commanders receiver Noah Brown likely out the rest of the season with a significant internal injury suffered in Week 13.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Thursday, I said the Bears are the most disappointing team in the NFL this year, but I'll tell you why it might get even worse. It's on SportsFin like 6 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rearview mirror. Working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got some Saints chalk that we'll get to at 2:15. I want to talk about Jayden Daniels' return to South Louisiana as he and the Commanders will invade the Superdome coming up on Sunday. Plus, who are the Saints going to start at quarterback in that game? We'll discuss all that coming up in 15 minutes. Time to talk some hoops. Matthew Bruni, part of the Bengal Tiger over there on 3, joins us every single Wednesday at the top of hour number 2, does so now. Matthew, how are we doing?
Hey, Hunt, doing great. No basketball games during the week. This week is a nice reprieve for me.
Yeah, it's there's finals, so a lot of recruiting going on. I know Kim Mulkey was visiting one of their signees earlier this week. You wrote about that. Both teams will kind of be geared toward this coming weekend as they get back into it before Christmas break cranks up. So I think that's a good time for us right now. I just want to get some general thoughts on the SEC through 6 weeks of college basketball because I'm floored. I can't believe I keep checking the scores each and every day, it seems like, and the SEC just continues to win. I ran the numbers. It's a 16-team league, and they've lost 19 games total. That seems almost impossible, but that's where we are. I know you watch a ton of hoops. What's your impression been of the SEC thus far?
Yeah, and 3 of those losses are South Carolina, who's the bottom team right now, but still like 66 in KenPom, one of the metric systems. So that's the bottom of the SEC is 66 in the country. And I watched Arkansas last night beat Michigan, one of the best teams in the Big Ten. A&M beat Texas Tech, a contender in the Big 12. It's every single night, like you said. They just continue to beat top teams. And Auburn lost on the road at Duke, but it was a very competitive game. Kentucky beat Gonzaga in overtime in Seattle. This is I mean, as far as the analytics, the metrics go, this is the best conference of this century right now. And I went back and looked at it, the 2004 ACC with Duke and J.J. Redick, and those teams only had 9 teams in the conference. And this is a 16-team conference that has just top to bottom incredible. LSU's been awesome to start the year, and they're still, in the bottom tier somehow. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Is there a team or two that you like best in the SEC that you've seen?
It's easy, but Auburn is by far my favorite. I mean, the best team that I've watched so far. I mean, Janai Broome is incredible. They have a ton of guards. That's the best team in the country for my money. And then Tennessee continues to roll. They're 9-0. They're number 1 in the AP poll. Alabama will always shoot a bunch of threes and space you out and just be one of the best offenses in the country. So, and Kentucky with Mark Pope has been has been a surprise to me. I mean, they have enough talent, and Pope's a really good coach, having that system in there. So that's the kind of the top tier of the SEC for me.
Tennessee will guard you now. They guarded Miami in a big way last night, kind of locked them up for 2 halves of that game. So I saw earlier you were writing about LSU and how they've done a good job and they've beaten some teams in high major conferences, but maybe those teams haven't performed exceptionally well, which doesn't reflect great in LSU's metrics. How do you think LSU sits right now as far as the metrics go? Not on the floor, but it's a beauty pageant at a certain point. What does that look like right now for LSU?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's certainly a beauty pageant, and it's subjective when you get to March in terms of the eyes of the committee and who they put in the tournament. I mean, there's great teams that get left out every year, and there's snubs and whatnot. So you just have to accumulate as many wins as you can, obviously. And this SMU game on Saturday is big, which we'll talk about, but they do have the win over Kansas State and UCF and now Florida State. Those are 3 good wins. They're not, quad 1 wins, as some would hope. Kansas State's dropped off a little bit. UCF and Florida State are good, not great teams. So, they have good wins to this point. It's going to take, a win over SMU on the road, which looks like it'll be a quad 1 win. And then you have, I think it's 13 quad 1 opportunities in the SEC right now. So you'll have plenty of opportunities in conference, but you definitely want to get these ones out of conference.
What do you know about the scheduling of this game? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I'm admitting I don't know. Is this a true road game? Is this a neutral site game? I know it's in Frisco. How does it qualify? Do you know?
Yeah, it's a neutral game, but the way I understand is that it's a semi-road game since it is in Frisco.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly how that changes the quad 1 or quad 2 implications to it, but it is a neutral site game technically, I believe. And this came about. I think it's a compete for a cause classic. So they have SMU and LSU here playing, and then next year they'll play in New Orleans. SMU and LSU will.
Cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about that. Andy Enfield there at SMU. What do you know about the Mustangs and what LSU will need to do on Saturday to get a win?
Sure. Andy Enfield comes from USC. It was a pretty big poach from SMU to get him from USC, where he had a good amount of success. I mean, he put in a lot of NBA players. It seemed like he had one every year pretty much that was able to go to the pros. And I'm not just talking about, Bronny James, but he's got a good team already. I think Boobie Miller, LSU played him twice, I think, at Wake Forest. Their lead guard, he's kind of a smaller guard, but can really fill it up. So that's one that LSU fans may remember when they see him. And then they got a lot of transfers in there, clearly with a year 1 coach. That's what you would expect it to be revamped in that way. But they're a top 30 offense in the country. They play pretty fast, and they're going to look to kind of push the pace there. So it's going to be an open game. I think LSU, in that story you mentioned earlier, I talking to some of the coaches and people around the team, they really want to play faster with Jaylen Reed gone. That's kind of the one thing they're gonna have to turn up the tempo, because Jaylen Reed is such a kind of half court presence. They're gonna have to open it up and get Corey Chest and them out running.
What'd you make of LSU's new look front court back on Sunday?
I loved it. I think the 2 games we've seen now of Corey Chest and Damian Collins in the front court, they've been excellent for Florida State and now Florida Gulf Coast. You have games where they've dominated on the interior defensively. They've been good on the glass. As a team, defensive rebounding is still a concern, which isn't all on them, but just the way that they're athletically able to compete and they're able to really guard, I think, is huge for this team. And, the transition opportunities with Corey Chest running and him just kind of playing with his hair on fire is something this team needs.
I want to ask you about Curtis Givens. He's a guy I expect to see a good amount in the games after SMU, before SEC play, because I don't know how much they're going to get him on the floor in SEC play. What have you made of his development and his performance in his freshman season?
I think he's been good. I think he's been about what I expected him to be. He is a bigger guard, 6'3", 6'4", that as a freshman physically looks the part, but I think he still has, some areas of improvement in terms of playmaking. His turnover percentage is too high right now. He's, I think, needs the game to slow down for him in a bit. Early on, I think they hoped maybe he could put some pressure on Jordan Sears, because Sears is, a 6-foot guard. You have kind of the contrast there, but Sears has played really well. You're not going to want to take him off. And then Cam Carter at the 2 has been really good. So you have your backcourt set, and whenever you do substitute in, I mean, they've put, whether it's Victorious Miller in there and kind of rotated guys around in the backcourt. So I think Givens is a good player. I think he'll definitely be probably the starter next year. But at this moment, maybe they get him in for 5-6 minutes a game right now.
He's Matthew Bruni. He's on 3, the Bengal Tiger. He and Shea Dixon do a heck of a job over there. Matthew's covering all the teams, especially both basketball teams this time of year, and does an awesome job. Highly suggest y'all go check that out. He's with us every single Wednesday at 2 o'clock as well. Matthew, thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime.
It's going to be a big one for LSU on Saturday. I continue to reiterate this. I'll stop after this game on Saturday, because the next games that are leading up to conference play shouldn't be a big issue for LSU. You've got Stetson coming in. You got Mississippi Valley State. Games that LSU should handle relatively easily. But this is your last opportunity to get a fairly quality win, and you've got to do that a lot, because they're just going to be tough to find wins in January and February. I think there are probably a lot of you that listen to me talk about this and say, man, you're just so negative. Like, just let them play the game. And I get that. Like, I understand. I fully understand how it comes off that way. But I've watched these teams in the SEC play, and I certainly watch every bounce of the ball that LSU dribbles. And it feels to me like right now they're very much toward the bottom in terms of talent. If I'm wrong about that, I'll be thrilled, and I'll come on here and I'll tell you about how stupid I was. It's my opinion, and that's kind of why I'm here. So I feel like LSU's going to be scrapping and clawing for every SEC win that they can muster, and you need to give yourself a little bit of a runway here with what you do in the non-conference. If they can find a way to get to conference play with one loss, man, I would feel really good about that. I think you would be a better than 50% chance to make the NCAA tournament if you could get to conference play with just one loss. You turn that second one up. That one indicates that loss is, 1, bad on your resume, and 2, let me rephrase, that loss is not good on your resume. I don't think that losing to SMU and Frisco is bad. It's just not good. And then you've got to probably make that up somewhere in the SEC, because I personally think right now that LSU is likely, the ceiling to me right now looks like a bubble team. That's what it looks like to me. So when you start to play in those margins, it gets tight. And so you need to go ahead and take care of your business. They need to try to do that against SMU. As Matthew mentioned, one of the better offensive teams in the country. And it's going to be an up and down affair for sure. So I'm curious to watch that one and see if LSU can keep up. LSU likes to play at that pace. I know that. They did a great job playing against one of the slowest teams in the country on Sunday and getting it going up and down and getting to 80 points. So should be a track meet there against the Ponies in Frisco. All right, we step aside. We'll come back, talk about Saints. What are they going to do at quarterback? What quarterback's coming in to the Dome? We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Highly, highly, highly recommend you check out OneBathAndClosets.com. You can get a feel for some of the great work that David and his team do. If you're having trouble just kind of picturing what a bathroom renovation might look like, this is a great place for you to go check it out, onebathandclosets.com. If you've got one of those big jacuzzi-style tubs that they put in a lot in the 90s and you don't really want to use that anymore and it's just taking up a lot of space, take it out. Put a shower. There's plenty of room there for a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. It changes the aesthetic of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom. If you don't take baths, well, you got a bathtub. You don't need one. Go ahead and put the shower in there. David Vaughn and his team are happy to do it. And look, if you take advantage of the opportunities there in terms of financing, you could pay 0% on 18 months worth of payments, just if you qualify. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online where you can find those pictures of their great work, and you can start the process with that free consultation at onebathandclosets.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Welcome back to the Hunt Palmer Show. Here's your host, Hunt. The uniforms are Palmer. Which uniform do you hate now?
Every work week is moving along quite nicely. Wednesday edition, we're officially working towards the weekend here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Thanks to Bernie for talking a little hoops there with us. Let's change gears. Let's talk some Saints as they welcome the Washington Commanders into the Dome coming up on Sunday. And, of course, with said Washington Commanders comes their quarterback, Jayden Daniels. And I think there was some contention in South Louisiana a couple of years ago when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase arrived in New Orleans to play in that game. And there were a lot of Saints fans who were bristling at LSU fans, whether they're an LSU fan or not, but bristling at LSU fans who potentially might side with Joe and Jamar and the Bengals over the homestanding New Orleans Saints. And I get that. Look, it happened in this room, in this chair. I kind of trolled Matt a little bit. I wore my Bengals shirt prior to that game, and Matt did not like it very much. He threw all my stuff on the ground and had some colorful things to say to me as I exited the room. And that's okay, to have some passion about your team and to feel a little bit defensive. There are far more LSU fans who care deeply about the Saints and wanted the Saints to win that game than there are folks like me who are just diehard LSU folks who have not lived and breathed with the New Orleans Saints for our entire lives. There aren't that many of us. So I think that any animus that may have been there for that Bengals game, and I'm not saying I wore a orange Bengals shirt on Sunday and was yelling and screaming at the TV. I wasn't. I watched that game, and it was a tough inning for the Saints, and Joe hit Jamar for that touchdown to win it. But I want the Saints to win as well. But I don't think that the build up to that game, Joe and Jamar coming back off the Super Bowl berth, I don't feel that this time around with Jayden Daniels coming in. Jayden has played great. Jayden's had a better rookie year than Joe had. Now, Joe got hurt in his rookie year, but Jayden has had a better rookie year. You're talking about a guy in Jayden Daniels right now who is fourth in the NFL in completion percentage among qualified starters with a 70% completion percentage. He's also ninth in the NFL in yards per attempt. He's running the football very, very well. He had a rushing touchdown in the game against the Titans. He had a rushing touchdown in the game against the Cowboys. He had 74 yards rushing in that game. In a game earlier against the Bears, he had 52. In a game against the Browns earlier this year, he had 82 yards. He's run for a significant amount. That's 2, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns already in this rookie campaign. So he's doing everything you thought he would do when he left LSU. I was certainly vocal about this. When I watched Jayden Daniels, and I watched every snap he took last year, when I watched him, I thought to myself, that guy has everything you would want in an NFL quarterback except 15 extra pounds. He's tall. He's 6'4". He's an elite athlete. He's played a ton of football as a starter, 5 years. He's accurate. He's decisive. He throws the deep ball. He checks it down. He takes care of it. He produces points. Like, there was nothing outside of his weight that you could have pointed to with Jayden Daniels and tried to pick it apart. And we had the discussion. It was Jayden Daniels. It was Caleb Williams. Like, who are you going to go with there? And my thing was, it's kind of like, are you trying to get Patrick Mahomes, a guy who has insane arm talent and makes a crazy off-script plays all the time? And, like, that's what Caleb Williams has, that kind of skill set. But does that always translate, or do you really have to be Patrick Mahomes to make that work? Or would you rather take the guy that kind of has the skill set you're looking for? He plays the position like Lamar Jackson does. He plays the position not with quite the arm strength and physicality, but with the athleticism and the big playability, kind of like Josh Allen does to an extent. And I liked the guy that did more on script, but had the ability to go off script in Jayden Daniels than the guy in Caleb Williams who's just kind of out there trying to make a play. And I'm not putting dirt on Caleb Williams' NFL career. Far from it. The Bears are a mess, and that's not his fault. But Washington has been a mess for a long time, and Jayden Daniels has helped to clean a little bit of that up. Now, Philly's gotten white hot, and they're in control of that division now, but Washington's very much right there in the mix, and he's part of that. And I think that has resonated to an extent with LSU fans, but I don't think to the extent it did in Cincinnati. And I think that shined through when the Commanders and Cincinnati played back a few weeks ago on Monday Night Football, and I felt like a lot of people in LSU circles were pulling for the Bengals there. I don't think there's going to be a sizable amount at all of LSU folks in that dome on Sunday. I do not think so at all. Now, it's a very, very popular trip to come down to New Orleans in the NFL season, so there may be some Washington fans, but those will be folks from that region, not necessarily this one. And I think that's probably the way Saints fans would prefer it. The question is who the Saints are going to start at quarterback to duel Jayden Daniels. And I get the sense, and we talked about this on Monday, that that's going to be Spencer Rattler. I just feel like that's Clint Kubiak's guy. And I feel like Darren Rizzi's probably going to be in position to give that decision to Clint Kubiak. Maybe not. I don't know that. I just feel that. Usually when interim coaches come in, they loosen the reins, not tighten them, right? So you're generally not in a position as an interim coach to go, all right, I'm taking control of that. Now, when Ed Ogeron took over at LSU, he kicked Cam Cameron to the curb, said, you're done. And that was an authoritative thing that he did. But most of the stuff he did when he got to LSU as the interim coach was kind of relax things. And you heard the same thing with Darren Rizzi. They changed some of the things they did in the locker room. They changed the vibes at practice with some music. I just don't think he's going to look at Clint Kubiak and go, all right, I'm the head honcho now. This is the guy you're starting. I think Kubiak will make that call, and I think Clint Kubiak is more likely to go with the more raw, talented player that can do some more things and think that he'll put him in position to take advantage of those attributes. I think it'll be Spencer Rattler in the game coming up on Sunday. I don't have a strong preference as to who I'd like to see play. I think the likelihood is that the Saints have a couple of guys available to them that are backup quarterbacks in the NFL. I think it's unlikely that either of these two guys emerges as a true threat to be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. I think that it's more likely that Spencer Rattler could develop into that. I just don't think it is likely that either one of them does develop into that. And Washington's got a pretty good defense. You're going to have to block up front and run the football to help out whoever it is that's playing quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Jayden Daniels can kind of do some things on his own a little bit. You don't have that skill set here with your quarterback in New Orleans. But I think it's going to be an all-SEC matchup. I think you're going to take Jayden Daniels and South Carolina Spencer Rattler, and I think those are going to be two of the guys that you see play in this game on Sunday. And quite frankly, I think that leans toward Washington. If I knew I was going to get a full-throat, electrified December Superdome, I might feel differently. I don't think I'm going to get that. I think I'm going to get a Superdome that's a little bit tuned out on this whole thing, that may have some opposing fans in it, and I think the Saints are the lesser team. I think those ingredients pull the other way. We'll find out this week. I think we don't have the practice participation report to this point. We certainly don't have an injury report to this point. And maybe Derek Carr tapes it up and tries to go play. I just can't imagine that 7 days after the injury he suffered. So to me, I think we'll probably find out on Thursday who the Saints quarterback will be. I think it's going to be Spencer Rattler. Either way, it'll be Jayden Daniels, and I'm excited to watch the game. I'm excited to watch Jayden Daniels play. But it's going to, I believe, be an SEC matchup of quarterbacks coming up on Sunday inside the Dome. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can find ours at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Hunt on Saints on YouTube is where you can find it. That's also now being uploaded everywhere you find your podcast. So if you had been checking me out on YouTube, appreciate that very much. But it's everywhere. If you search Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. All right, let's step aside for another timeout. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more college football right here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Look, safety, pretty big deal. Everybody that buys a car thinks about that. And if you're in the market for a new vehicle and you're considering some of the safest cars on the road, strongly consider Genesis. Every single car on the line, not like the one they picked to be the safe car. Every car on the line was given the IIHA top safety picks. Some of the cars on the line were given top safety picks plus. But that baseline, every single vehicle on the Genesis line has those safety features. And they don't compromise on it. That's why it's an incredibly safe car to drive. It's an incredibly popular pick with families. Not to mention that it's really sleek and stylish, rides fantastically, looks great, and it's available right here in Baton Rouge at the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state. So if you're just outside of Baton Rouge, you're thinking maybe Genesis might be for you, drive on in. Visit the store, Airline at Piku, chat with one of their brand ambassadors, get behind the wheel, and see the difference in that Genesis line of vehicles. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environment.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, so we're going to do some live radio here on the spot and see how things shake out. I found out on Twitter in the break that Will Campbell won the blocking award for the SEC.
So there's actually 2 winners of that award.
Okay.
And I think the other one is a defender.
Oh, on defense?
Or maybe it's an offense. Maybe it's offense, actually.
Is it Kelvin Banks?
It is.
Okay, that's good. All right, that's the point of this exercise. So I realized that they had listed out all the awards. So I'm going to try to see how many of these I can get correctly. You have given me the awards. I got to get the players here.
Yep.
So let's see what we can do. Offensive Player of the Year. Do you have that available to you?
I do.
I don't think any of the quarterbacks earned that. I don't think Jackson Dart earned that, especially the way that things ended in Florida. It's almost always a quarterback, and I don't think so. And Dylan Sampson led the league in rushing. I'm going to go with Dylan Sampson for Offensive Player of the Year.
That's correct.
Oh, we like to hear that. Boom, that's #1. All right, Defensive Player of the Year. That's tougher. I often think in those terms. I know that Whit Weeks was 3rd in the league in tackles, and I think the 2 guys in front of him played for like Mississippi State or Oklahoma. And that just doesn't scream Player of the Year to me. So I'm going to transition.
Danny Stutzman was pretty well regarded.
He was good. So I'm going to go pass rush there. James Pierce is going to be the first pick, but I don't think his numbers were that good. Kyle Kennard had a ton of sacks. I'm going to go Kyle Kennard, Defensive Player of the Year.
Wow.
Oh, my God. This guy is on fire. We like that. I look at a lot of stats. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Okay, we have Freshman of the Year.
Yep.
And there's a Newcomer of the Year, you told me.
Yes, there is.
And those are going to be different, I believe.
They
Newcomer
are?
of the Year feels pretty easy to me. That's got to be Diego Pavia. Oh, my God. This guy
that
is
was easy.
unbelievable.
That was an easy one.
That was an easy one. But I thought about a few others. I didn't know. I was assuming none of the Texas guys counted, even though they were newcomers to the league. Okay, so we got Freshman of the Year.
This one I think is...
There are 2 that are just jumping to my mind.
Yeah.
And are they co-winners?
No.
Okay. I'll tell you that Lenora Sellers is a redshirt freshman. I thought he played great, and Ryan Williams is the highlight reel guy. I think I'm going to go with Lenora Sellers, freshman of the year. Oh, yes! That's incredible work by me. What else do we have? Special teams?
No, yeah, I mean, you're not going to
Is it a kicker for somebody?
Yeah, it's Kentucky's kicker.
You probably got a lot of work in.
Yeah, and then they have a scholar athlete of the year.
Vanderbilt's left tackle.
No, Brady Cook, actually, from Missouri.
Oh, Missouri. Okay.
Yep.
That's very.
And,
he must be journalism major. They're real proud of their journalism school there at Missouri.
Unfortunately, I already told you Coach of the Year, but I think you probably would have went.
It would have been Clark Lee and Shane Beamer, and I think I would have gone Shane Beamer on that.
But it was actually Clark Lee.
Clark Lee. But I'm pretty proud of that effort, I got to tell you.
Yeah, not bad.
Ryan Williams was really good, but Sellers his last month was just incredible to watch. So, defensive player of the year, Kyle Kennard. Offensive player of the year, Dylan Sampson. Blocking, Will Campbell, and then Kelvin Banks, who you said. That's whenever you get to work on Monday, and one of the first things you do is just look at all the stats for like 45 minutes, try to see what you're going to talk about and what you might write about. Plus, you're editing all of Chris Marlar's stuff for LouisianaSports.net that is all SEC related. I was more immersed into the entirety of the SEC this fall than I've really ever been. So
Kennard, as well. Kyle Kennard also won the Bronco Nagurski trophy, which I didn't know had already been awarding. Apparently, they're already awarding some trophies. He won that one. So,
he's going to be a
really good player in the NFL, I think.
And so let me see. So Sampson was a high school signee. Campbell was a high school signee. Sellers was a high school signee. Ryan Williams was a high school signee. Kennard was a transfer from Georgia Tech. Pavia was a transfer, certainly. But
Kelvin Banks, I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that either. My gut would be he probably went to Texas out of high school, but I don't know that one for sure. And that's part of the interesting deal. You think about guys like Kyle Kennard, and they're all over the place. You think about some of the most impactful SEC defenders this year, and we talked about that on yesterday's show, how many of them are transfers. And then you realize that like what goes on over the next 2 weeks is just so incredibly vital to everyone who's trying to win a championship. And this is kind of the same segment I did yesterday, but I'm in the same frame of mind, so it bears repeating. And maybe some of you were listening at this time yesterday, and you're getting the exact same segment. But I want to reinforce, like, I've been trained over the last 20 years probably to look at the future of LSU's football program based on the current depth chart. That's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time because, as we talked about yesterday, the entire 2022 class is just about gone. And you're now attempting to add really the best players on your team to this 2025 team from the transfer portal. Yes, you're going to lean on Garrett Nussmeier. Yes, you're going to lean on Caden Durham. Yes, you're going to lean on Whit Weeks. Yes, you're going to lean on Ashton Stamps and perhaps Emory Jones. And these are some of the guys that you're going to have step up. Xavier Thomas and Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson. Yes. But you're going to add, my guess is, your best sack guy in the portal. You're probably going to add your number one receiver in the portal. You're probably going to add your number one corner in the portal. You're going to add your starting tight end in the portal. Like, these are key pieces to what you're trying to do in 2025, and you have no idea who those guys are going to be today. And that is a foreign concept to what we dealt with 10 years ago. And honestly, it's foreign to what we told you in August Brian Kelly was going to do. But something changed over the course of these 4 months. Whether it was the guys he saw on Ole Miss's roster, whether it was the guys that were leaving his roster, whether it was the lack of production from the second-year class, which is redshirt freshmen and true sophomores, maybe it was a combination of all that. But something over the course of those 4 months altered Brian Kelly's thinking about how to build a roster. And we're going to see how well LSU can do this over the next 3 weeks. Because if you heard Brian Kelly earlier today, and I doubt most of you heard this because this was an hour and 40 minutes ago, He was at 3 different Baton Rouge restaurants last night. They are whining and dining prospective transfers, whining and dining players that are on this team they're trying to keep on this team. Like, he is far more focused on handling roster management for 2025 than he is Baylor. And that's the proper way to go about this. That's just where we are with bowl games. But it's been a fascinating shift to pay attention to with Brian Kelly, who I think as of August still thought, okay, I can do this the old way. I can build relationships with players. I can hire great coaches. I can use the resources at LSU's disposal to put together great teams. And if I need a cornerback, I can go get one. If I need a running back, I can go get one. If I need a defensive end, I can go get one. But this is how we can do it. And maybe it was Bryce Underwood. Maybe it was a year-long commitment that went away based on $10 million that made him go, oh, this isn't tenable. We now have to compete with that. And maybe it was all the stuff that I'm talking about that just all combined into one. But I don't think you can at this point deny the shift. And I'm excited over the next 10 days to see who they can get into the boat. I think you'll start learning about this as the hours tick off the clock starting now. First domino that's got to fall for LSU, honestly, is Garrett Nussmeier. Got to make sure that he's in the boat. Then you can plan your spending accordingly. If you've got to go get a quarterback, then you're going to have to plan your spending accordingly, which is shifted heavily toward the quarterback. But we'll find out. It's kind of like it's kind of more like free agency in the NFL than it is the old National Signing Day where 25 guys ran in at once. Just news trickling out day over day. And if you don't get this guy, then you got to go after this guy. If you don't get this guy, you got to go after that guy. If they got this guy, then you need to get that guy. Just a different world that we all knew was coming, we all felt was coming, but as I sit here and cover it, it does feel a lot different than I thought it would back in August. So that's a look at awards and portal talk here with some LSU football. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can find it each and every day at Hunt on LSU. Cassie, Jesse, and the whole video team do an awesome job of getting those videos uploaded. Just 10, 12 digestible minute segments that are right there at your the tip of your fingers at Hunt on LSU. And as I mentioned in the previous segment, if you're looking for those and don't want to go to YouTube, you just like to go to your podcast app, Hunt on LSU, very much available in podcast form as well. So go ahead and check all of that out. We'll step aside, take a time out, come back, close things up. Wednesday edition, Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBears Baton Rouge. Got to make it game day headquarters this winter season. You can watch all the games on their giant screen TVs. I tell you every day how awesome the viewing experience is inside of ESPN Bet. They got huge screens. They can break them up into multiple games. The sportsbook's right behind you. You can sit with a group at a big table. You can sit individually at these tables that are, or these chairs that are super comfortable. They're a little ledge comes out. You can rest your drink and your food on. They got a great wait staff, awesome drink specials, and food as well. You got to get on by and check it out. Do it this weekend with all your friends. Get in all the football and basketball action this winter with Penn Play and ESPN Bet. Penn's online sportsbook is now live in Louisiana, so download that ESPN Bet app. You can score big this season at LeBears Baton Rouge. However you want to play. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 for help.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are bringing you the ultimate holiday gift with our Home for the Holidays sweepstakes. Imagine 2025 with your rent or mortgage covered up to $18,000. We're here to make your holidays a whole lot brighter. Just sign up at 1045ESPN.com and you could be living stress-free next year. The winner will be notified on December 20th. That is next Friday.
All right, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Absent at Saints practice today, Derek Carr, which is not surprising. I just can't imagine that he's going to play in the game coming up on Sunday. I think it'll be Hainer or Rattler. And then Alvin Kamara not at practice today either. Not sure what the extent of his situation is. Maybe a veteran day off. Maybe nursing something at this point. But those two absent from Saints practice today as they begin preparation for Washington. The full injury report will be available here in a couple of hours, and certainly Matt will have more on that coming up on after further review. Appreciate all the guests that we've had on today for jumping aboard. Had Matthew Bruni talking hoops at the top of the hour, and J.D. Piquel talking football back at 1:15. Appreciate those guys for being part of the show today. A lot of busy action in the Major League Baseball winter meetings that I'm excited to dive into after we get off the air, because I know you don't give a rip about much of that. We may get into some of it here, though, because Beck, we got to do one more thing here on this Wednesday, and that is, of course, take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here. NCAA President Charlie Baker says progress is being made around expanding the NCAA basketball tournament to 72 or 76 teams. He doesn't expect it to move past 76. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I just we're talking about a situation here where we're putting a bunch of below 500 power teams in that just don't need to be in. I'm not suggesting I won't watch the games, and that's why they're doing it, because every single freaking thing we do revolves around so much money, and I get it. And I'll be damned if, at times it doesn't just frustrate me that we can't just go back to things that made a lot of sense because we feel like somebody's not making the right amount of money for it. So that's the issue here. They'll make more money because there'll be more games, and I'm sure people like me will absolutely watch them. But it is watering down the field a little bit when you add that many teams. So we're talking about right now where we're at 68. You're adding 8 more teams to the field. Like, you're adding 8 more teams that were 2 games under 500 in the ACC, or 8 more teams that were, won the Southland and didn't win the tournament. Like I don't need that. I don't need that. I think it waters down the tournament, but they're going to do it because there's more money involved. And by now, we know when more money comes knocking, the door gets opened wide.
All right, next one here. We talked about a little bit in last segment, or 2 segments ago, about SEC, but Vanderbilt coach Clark Lee wins the SEC Coach of the Year. Lee led the Doors to a 6-6 record with a win over Alabama after going 2-10 last year. Lee over Beamer, take it or leave it.
That's direct. I would take it. I would take it. I think Shane Beamer did an awesome job. I think he had a better football team than Vanderbilt. That obviously showed itself. But you consider where South Carolina has been. I mean, where Vanderbilt has been, 6-6 is a hell of a run. You consider where South Carolina's been, 9-3 is just maybe one bump up. And so I would probably go with Clark Lee there, but if they would have given that award to Shane Beamer, I wouldn't have blinked.
All right, next one here. The Boston Red Sox have acquired left-handed pitcher Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox are getting 4 highly prized prospects in return in the deal. Chicago Cubs continue to do nothing. Take it or leave it.
Well, you take that. They're not doing much of anything. But the White Sox are just a disaster. Like, they got a great young pitcher that they could potentially build around, and instead they just ship him off and hope that the 20-year-olds they got back in turn are good. There's some SEC flavor to this deal. Garrett Crochet was Tennessee's ace right when Tony Vitello got to Knoxville, so they hadn't kind of reached their pinnacle yet, but he was their Friday night guy. And one of the guys that's going back from the Red Sox to the White Sox in this deal is Braden Montgomery, of course, who was a superstar at Texas A&M this past year before he broke his leg in the Super? Or was that the regional?
I don't know.
No, it was in the regional. He broke his leg in the regional. In the Super, Caden Kent came in and hit a walk-off home run and was a star there. So, yeah, a couple of SEC products that are on the move there. Crochet headed up to Boston to do something, and the Cubs just doing a lot of nothing at this point. Super awesome.
All right, last one here. Ohio Representative Josh Williams is petitioning the state of Ohio to make planting an opposition team's flag at midfield of the Horseshoe a felony. Take it or leave it.
Okay, we got to talk about this. I'm going to leave it. First
leave it alone.
That's not a felony. It's a kid doing something dumb. But, like, when the representative from the state of Ohio brings this to the floor, do you believe that he is doing so because he is bettering society and his constituents?
Oh, of course, Hunt.
No, I'm not done. Or do you believe he's just doing it because his job depends on people to vote for him, and no one's probably ever heard of him? This will get him some notoriety, and he'll be elected at a later time, even though he knows it's really stupid. It's one of the two. Do you think he thinks it's doing the right thing and bettering society, or do you think he's just doing it to get votes? It's got to be one.
Yeah, I don't see how this isn't just a move for publicity's sake.
It just makes me mad because I don't know anything about government. I don't know how any of the processes work. I don't know how bills get signed into a law. I don't know how they get to the floor. I don't know any of that kind of stuff. But I feel like there's probably some more constructive things that could get passed in a situation like that than, hey, Michigan took a flag and fake planted it on an AstroTurf field, and so everybody started pushing and shoving after that happened. So I need to intervene legally from my important position here. Like, that is so weird to me that people think that way. Like, you got elected. Go solve some problems.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't.
One more here. Will Campbell, obviously not going to be playing in the Texas Bowl.
No.
But he will be on the sideline, apparently, for the game. Will Campbell on the sideline, but not playing. Take it or leave it?
I'll take it, sure.
I'll take it.
I know that there have been some guys that haven't traveled with the team. There have been some guys that have traveled with the team in the past. We will get, in the next 48 hours, a real sense for who's going to play in that game for LSU. I know I've alluded to the fact that I didn't think that Will Campbell and Mason Taylor and Braden Swinson and a lot of those guys would play. We'll see what Zy Alexander decides to do. We'll see what Chris Hilton decides to do. We'll see what Sage Ryan decides to do. Emory Jones certainly has a decision to make. Garrett Dellinger has a decision to either play or not. He's going to be medically cleared to play. It's whether he wants to play or not. That's all up in the air, and I feel like we're going to get some clarity on all that in the next 48 hours. That was kind of the open to my show today, and I think that's kind of where we are in this process. I have no idea what's going on at Baylor. No idea whether or not they've got their full complement of players or they're down 12 scholarship guys. I couldn't tell you. But I do think that since the finals are going on this week, and I know that a lot of the athletes front load those so they can get out of there or get to practice. I know the basketball guys and the football guys try to front load those in the front of the week. So they'll start practice tomorrow, and I just feel like you're going to know who's going to be on the team for that. But that's just a guess from the outside. Speaking of guesses from the outside, I told you what I thought Garrett Nussmeier would do at the top of the show today. Go catch that on YouTube currently at Hunt on LSU if you're curious. Again, thanks to JD Piquel for jumping aboard. It was a What If Wednesday. We talked about Christmas shopping for the ladies in our lives. It's very difficult. I gave my thoughts on that at 1:30. Stephen Milan going to be the shortstop at LSU. He kind of hinted at that on AFR yesterday, and I followed through with that at 1:45 today. Matthew Bruni talking hoops, little Saints talk as well. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. All right, Matt Moscona is going to drive you home on After Further Review today. It's a pretty one in the capital city. Have a great Wednesday evening. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. If you are building a home in 2025 and you're starting that process, listen up. It becomes a lot easier if in that process you contact your audio and video team. Because Mitchell Fisher and his team are happy on a new construction build to go in there and do the wiring to begin with so that you don't have to do it after everything's set up and you start drilling all those holes at that point. It makes things a lot easier, and it's something that they do all the time. So if you're concerned about your television system, your home entertainment system, your burglar alarms, all of those things in a new build coming up in 2025, Audio Video Security Solutions needs to be the first call on your list. Of course, you can check them out online at avssla.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions online at avssla.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials.